Hey. Time for the Out of This World story from rSpace. Yes. Nothing says forever like exchanging vows, joint bank accounts, and a matchmaking prescription for gonorrhea. Today on rSpace, this one's going to sting. I found out my wife was cheating when she gave me an STD. I divorced her and made sure her prized possession went missing. I've been a very long time lurker here, reading all the posts that other men put up. For me, besides the entertainment that is reading about how unfaithful wives get paid back, I tend to learn a lot from the ways that women cheat, the signs they leave behind, and how you can find out the truth. I've been married for 11 years. I just turned 40 and my wife is 38. I still trusted my wife, but I've learned enough from the posts here to never trust anyone 100%, especially not the woman I'm married to, because I realized that you can never know what's going on with them at all times, whether that's when they're at work or when they're using their phones. The worst part about my discovery that Jolynn has been cheating on me is that I didn't even find out in the usual way. I found out in what I actually think is the worst way to learn that the person you thought was the love of your life has been cheating on you. Maybe walking in on it is worse, but I'm biased because I actually suffered through things. Things were going fine in our marriage. There was actually nothing that I could complain about. We have 2 kids, which is exactly how many we planned for, and they're good kids, too. Everything all around was fine, and you can't blame me if I actually believed that we were going to be the kind of couple to make it to a 50-year anniversary. The crap hit the fan when I suddenly noticed that they would burn when I peed. The first thing to come to my head was an STD, rightfully so, but because I don't mess around and because I assumed that I was the case with my wife too, I chalked it up to being a UTI instead. I wanted to give everyone the benefit of the doubt in the situation because jumping to the conclusion that your wife is cheating is the kind of thing that is very hard to walk back from. I mentioned it to her passively, and she didn't react in a crazy kind of way. She agreed with me that it might be a UTI and said that I should try to get antibiotics to treat it. So I mentioned that I would. Her reaction made me think even less of it. However, that didn't last long because the moment that I saw discharge, I knew that I wasn't dealing with a UTI anymore. I went to the clinic to get tested as soon as I could, and they told me that I was going to get the results in a few days. In that time, Jocelyn noticed that my behavior towards her changed. I really tried to keep it under wraps until I was sure, but it was hard for me to keep my negative emotions toward her in. I knew there was little else that would cause penile discharge besides an STD, and if that was what it was, then she was the only one who had given it to me, because I hadn't slept with anyone else. The last time that happened was over 15 years ago, before we had even started dating. When the results came in, they were sent to my email, and unsurprisingly, I had gonorrhea. My prescription was sent to a nearby pharmacy, and I went to pick up my medicine and start using it right away. I didn't want to deal with it any longer than I had to. I was so mad though. I don't think I've ever been that furious before. I didn't want to have to confront her when we got back home from work since the kids would be around, so I had to wait 2 days until the weekend. When that came, I got them sent to my brother's house for the weekend. Once it was just the 2 of us, I told her that I had gone to the clinic about the pain I had when I was peeing. She asked whether they had given me medicine for my UTI, but I corrected her and told her that I wasn't given any medicine for UTI, but medicine for an STD. I let her know that I had gonorrhea, and the only way I could have gotten it was from her. She immediately denied it. She said that she didn't have any symptoms at all, so there was no way that I got it from her. I didn't like how she said that, because it almost seemed like she was saying I got it from someone else, as if I was the one who had been cheating. I told her that I wasn't stupid. I knew that it was possible for her to be asymptomatic, yet still be able to transmit the disease. It didn't mean anything that she didn't have any symptoms. She kept insisting that it had nothing to do with her, which shouldn't have surprised me because there was no way she was going to admit to cheating so easily. Regardless, it pissed me off each time that she lied to me. She asked me what I was doing on the nights that I said I was working overtime, or the times I had to take on night shifts. The question was horrible because she was trying to flip things and very calmly accused me of being the cheater between the 2 of us, and that annoyed me so bad. Out of that annoyance, I shouted at her. I told her that she was trying to gaslight me, and I wasn't stupid enough to sit around and let that happen. I let her know that I knew she was lying through her teeth and that she had to stop, or I was going to get a lot more upset than I already was. She shook her head as if to say that she was telling the truth. I asked her to say it one more time, that she hadn't been the one who cheated on me and given me a disease, and she said it. I remember that I was silent for a second, and then I rushed up to her. She screamed, probably because she thought I was going to hit her, Instead, I grabbed at her phone and pulled it away from her side. When it clicked to her that's what I was going for, she clawed at me, trying to get it back, screaming, "You can't do that! Don't do that! Give it back!" And her panic was enough for me to know that she was hiding something. I pushed her back, admittedly very roughly, and thankfully for me, she landed back on the couch. I yelled at her to stay there because I was already mad enough, and I think that was the only thing that stopped her from jumping at me a second time around. I started to scroll through her phone, looking at her every few seconds to make sure that she wasn't trying to approach me again. She hadn't even been good about hiding her affair, because it was in her messages app in a conversation with a guy named Rob. I had to only scroll a bit to see that their last few messages had been a back and forth where she asked him if he was clean. He claimed that he was, but she pressed, and he questioned her on why she was asking. She told him to stop being defensive, and he admitted that he had gonorrhea, but he had already taken a treatment for it. She flipped out at him, letting him know that I had caught gonorrhea, and she had tried to fool the stupid bastard into thinking that it was a UTI. She said she had no idea how she was going to keep that up if I tried to get a prescription for antibiotics. She was very angry in those text messages, and he kept apologizing like a child. When I scrolled up way above that, I saw that the rest of the chat had been deleted, and I assumed that happened when I let her know about my symptoms the first time around. She'd been smart about deleting all of that, but she hadn't been smart to continue to delete things because she didn't see the confrontation coming. "You've seen what you want me to see, just give it back." She didn't even seem apologetic. I made sure to screenshot and send those pictures to my own phone before I threw her phone back at her. I asked why I wasn't enough for her. It was a pathetic question to ask, but besides all the anger I felt pathetic too. It was a horrible feeling knowing that after 2 children and 11 years of marriage, your wife can still leave the house and lie to your face because she wants to go and sleep with another man. I wanted to know why she had to leave and go to someone else. Of course, her answer wasn't very satisfying. She said she didn't know. She said she had been bored, and she had made a bad decision and didn't have the guts to call it off when it could have been called off. She didn't sound remorseful, and that's what hurt me the most. She said it all matter-of-factly, as if it had happened, and she felt no need to fight the truth or apologize for it. I told her that I never would have done the same to her. I let her know that she had just let her 11 years of marriage crash and burn, and I had no idea how she wanted us to approach explaining the situation to our children. They are 7 and 9. How do you even start to explain that kind of thing to them? She asked me whether I had just made my decision and whether I wasn't even going to give us a chance to talk over things before I went straight to divorce. I told her that I wasn't opposed to talking to her, but the chance that I was going to change the outcome was non-existent. There was no other way that things were going to end because I couldn't forgive cheating, and that was the bottom line. She told me that she had spent 11 years married, as if I somehow hadn't already thought of everything that was going to go down the drain. I let her know that I knew that and had considered it already before I decided that I was going to ask for divorce. I told her that she had cheated, kept the affair going with no intent to stop or confess, and she had given me an STD in the process. I wanted to know how she thought she was going to talk her way out of that. She shook her head and said, "Okay," and then walked out on me. If you've dealt with women enough in your life, you know that she was somehow trying to make herself the victim in a scenario where she cheated and gave me an STD. I wasn't going to give her what she wanted. I left the house for her over that weekend, and I found a hotel to sleep in because I didn't want any reason to be in the same house as her. I only came back on Monday because my kids were back at home, and I didn't want them to ask questions or think that anything was wrong. I have barely been speaking with her, but I'm going to have a long discussion once I sort out a divorce lawyer and all of that. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure she regrets her decision to cheat. Don't get married if you can't be faithful. I mean, here's the dark silver lining. Every time it stings when you pee, you're reminded you dodged a lifetime with someone who thought boredom was a valid excuse for blowing up a family. Update 1. I wrote a post a few days ago about my wife, who gave me an STD because she was being unfaithful. I haven't wasted any time, and I've gotten in contact with a divorce lawyer, and with his help, I've been able to set the ball rolling. She has been served with papers, which I wanted to do while she was at her workplace, but I chose not to do anything inflammatory while we're still living under the same roof. It seems unnecessary. Needless to say, she was somewhat incredulous that I was moving on with things. Maybe she felt that because we had been staying in the same house all that time, that I had changed my mind and decided to work through things. But there's no way that would happen if I didn't have a talk with her about it. She was angry, but she chose to say nothing. She said she would read over it and sign it, and I was thankful for that much, because it would have been easy for her to try and drag things out and make things harder than they needed to be. I just hope that during the actual process, she'll keep the attitude and continue to make things easy for the two of us. Once the papers were signed, we knew that there was no way we would continue to postpone the conversation that we had to have with our kids. It wasn't easy, which I don't think is surprising to hear. There was a lot of crying when it sank in that we wouldn't be in the same place as much anymore. It broke my heart, and it almost made me wonder whether I could stay with Jolynn, but I realized that it just wouldn't work. We'd be two partners who hate each other, and it would be very obvious to the kids that the love is gone. It was better for them to get used to us being apart than to show them a dysfunctional relationship on a daily basis. Things have been rough for them ever since, but I'm still in the house through living in the guest room. When the divorce is official, we'll see who gets the house and proceed from there. But the moment I choose to sleep in a motel or a friend's house this early, it's very likely I'll lose the claim to the house. I'll get back to give what I hope is the final update once the divorce is finalized, so let's see how things go for me. Update 2. I'm officially divorced, and to be honest, I couldn't be happier. Even though there were times during the divorce when I wanted to bail from the stress and depression, I stuck through it because I realized that there was nothing to regret. I wasn't the one who cheated. I had been faithful through the whole thing, and she had chosen to sleep with someone else until she gave me a disease. That's not my fault, and I didn't need to blame myself for her stepping out on the marriage in the first place. The divorce didn't go the way I wanted it to go, sadly, even though I had evidence of the fact that she had cheated on me and given me an STD. The judge's stance was that cheating is not a crime, and she hadn't knowingly infected me, so it had no actual bearing on the equitable split of our property. I wanted to go for 50-50 custody because, as much as I resented her, my children loved her, and she was a good mother to them. I wasn't going to get in the way of that. The sad thing was that she asked for full custody, and I was actually baffled when I heard that because there was no basis for it. Thankfully, the judge awarded 50-50, but something changed in me at that point. I had been stupidly trying to play nice throughout the whole process despite the fact that I was the one who was hurt. I realized it wasn't going to pay off in any way. It was made worse when she got the house, child support, and alimony. She earns less than me, yes, but it seemed like way too much money to be giving out to a woman who had a good job. I don't blame my lawyer for the way things went because I could tell the judge was going to take her side no matter what. Once the divorce was over, though, something changed in me. I didn't mind co-parenting peacefully, but I was going to get my revenge on her. I needed to do one thing that was going to hurt her as much as she hurt me, and I knew what it was going to be. I never mentioned this previously because it wasn't relevant in any way, but Jolynn used to work as a florist. Even though she's not into that anymore, she loves plants, and the year after we got married, she got a bonsai tree, which she's been taking care of ever since. I know a lot of you are going to turn against me at this point, but I don't care. We had 11 years of marriage and she took it from me. I don't mind taking 10 years of her hard work from her. I committed a borderline crime, but it doesn't matter. I had a spare key to the house that I had bought, which she had been awarded, and during the day, when the kids were at school and she was at work, I went in and took only the bonsai tree. I didn't make it look like a burglary, and I didn't take anything else. There were no cameras to see me, and I didn't even go in my own car. I wanted to destroy it because of how heavily I resented her, but there was still enough in me for me not to want to do something as violent as that. So, I simply gave it to a friend. She has a lot of plants, and I can't guarantee she'll take care of the bonsai tree as well as Jocelyn learned to, but that doesn't matter to me. I made sure she knew exactly where the tree came from because she was close enough for me to share that with her. It was when I went to pick up the kids on the weekend that she brought up her missing tree with me. She asked whether I had taken it the last time I came to pick up my stuff or pick up the kids, but I told her that I didn't, and she knew that was true because she had definitely seen it after that. She wasn't panicking, but she was worried, because it wasn't the kind of thing that she'd move around the house. I shrugged and laughed. It was a week after that she was very convinced that I had been the one to take it. I maintained that I wasn't, but she wasn't having it. She said it couldn't have walked off on its own, and that I was the only one who knew how much it meant to her. I told her I knew how much it meant to her too. I made it clear that she had put 10 years of hard work into it, and there was no explanation for why I'd be so evil as to come in and F that up for her. She looked at me as if she could understand what I was saying, but I didn't get more explicit than that. I just told her to keep checking around the house. I told her she should ask the kids too. A few days after that, she called me and she was crying. She apologized like 10 times and said that I should just give it back. I told her I didn't know what she was talking about, and she just cried more. She said, "You win," before she hung up on me. She hasn't brought it up since then, and I'm glad. However, I know it has an impact on her, because she called me randomly after that and said that she was really sorry for cheating. She admitted how selfish she was and how she wished she could take it back. She didn't ask for the tree, but I feel she's not done with that. There's a part of me that wants to give it back to her a year or two into the future, if she's still doing well, but I'd rather not show any weakness. She deserves the pain, and I don't need to be a good guy in this scenario. Ultimately, I have no official business with her any longer, and that's all that matters to me. She really played herself thinking she could cheat, give you an STD, gaslight you, and somehow walk away unscathed. That tree wasn't just a plant, it was her pride, her little symbol of stability and accomplishment. However, after risking your health and trying to paint you as the bad guy, she's lucky all she lost was a tree. If someone you trusted for years not only cheated on you but also risked your health, what would you do? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time.